What's up and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Barbie and thank you guys so much for joining me today. Please remember to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe down below for all of my future videos. Alright guys, so welcome to today's video. I hope you guys are so excited because this has been a video that has been requested many times. You guys have reached out to me in my DMs asking me how I started a crystal business. Now, I know a lot of you guys have been wanting to start a crystal business and you're wondering where to start, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Now, I will be going super in depth today with everything I know about the crystal business. I will be sharing everything I know that I've learned over the past year of running my own crystal business, the Kawaii Crystal Bar. I will be sharing all of my secrets. Now, big disclaimer, this is based on my experience and my experience alone. Now, other sellers may have completely different advice that I have. This is just my advice and my experience and what I've learned over the past year of growing my own crystal shop, but this is what has worked for me and worked for my lifestyle. Now, some of you may know that I have a 9-to-5 job as a fashion designer, so I do not have a full-time crystal business. I run my crystal business at night and on the weekends, so I'm just going to be talking about my experience around that. If you're looking to jump in with just more of a part-time or full-time experience, I think you can apply what I'm going to tell you today for both. So I will be discussing everything today that you need to know to get your crystal shop up and running. Please make sure to watch this video all the way through so you don't miss any tips that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. Like I said, this is going to be super in-depth. It's going to be a long one, you guys. So if you guys want to learn everything I know about running a crystal business, stay tuned and let's get on into the video. Alright you guys, so today's video is going to be super in-depth. It's going to be a long one, so get ready. So grab a snack, grab a coffee, grab a notepad, and let's get started. So the first topic we're going to be talking about is where to sell your crystals. Now, we are going to be starting with this because this is going to dictate the rest of the video. Are you going to be selling them on Etsy or a similar website? Are you going to be selling them in live sales, or are you going to be selling them in a crystal shop? This will truly dictate how the rest of the video plays out. So that is where we are going to be starting today. Next, we're going to be talking about where to source your crystals. I've had a lot of questions specifically around this topic, so we are going to have a huge focus on where and how to start sourcing your crystals. And then number 3, we are going to be talking about initial investment. How much money should you be investing into your crystal shop starting off? How much is too much and how much is not enough? Number 4, we're going to be talking about how to open your shop and what you need to include. Things such as taxes that people don't tend to think about when opening a business. And then the last topic we're going to be talking about is how to price your crystals. This can be a tricky one because you don't want to underprice, but you don't want to overprice. So we're going to be talking about how to hit that sweet spot on pricing. All right guys, so let's jump in. So like I said, the first topic we're going to be talking about is where to sell your crystals. Now, why is this important? This will be dictating everything else we talk about today, and I'm going to tell you why. So we're going to be focusing on live shows versus Etsy or Shopify. We're not so much going to be talking about if you're going to be selling your crystals in a store, but a ton of these tips are going to apply. Now, I'm going to be walking through the major differences between selling on an Etsy or a Shopify versus a Instagram or Facebook live show, because there are some major differences that'll dictate how you source, how you price, and how you sell. So let's start with the pros and cons of live sales. All right, so crystal live sales. A lot of you guys shop crystal live sales on Facebook or Instagram. I personally shop live sales a ton and I love it as a shopper. I think the experience is amazing. I think you get great crystals. It's fast-paced and profitable. Now, what are some of the pros of doing live shows as a crystal seller? So I'd say number one, the biggest perk or pro of doing live shows is you're going to make a lot of money. Some of the crystal live shows I shop and some of the most successful sellers make anywhere from $3,000 to $20,000 a night. That's right, $3,000 to $20,000 a night, if not more, you guys. So live shows are extremely profitable. So number two, you will grow extremely fast doing live shows. People love tuning into live shows every single night, so they will continue to come back. And when you're going live, Instagram and Facebook will boost those live shows out to other people, and a lot of people are engaged in live shows, so it's easy for them to tune in, easy for them to get sucked in, and easy for them to join. Also on Facebook, you can share your live show and easily get hundreds and hundreds of people in your live show, so you will grow extremely fast doing live shows. You could have a successful business in a matter of months doing live shows than selling on an Etsy or a Shopify. So number three, you will grow a crystal family. Now this family will continuously shop with you. They will be loyal to you. They will spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars with you. You will build connections and relationships with real people who love your crystal shop. These people will show up for you every single time you go live. That is the beauty of live shows. So number four on the list of pros is because you will be making so much money, you will have a bigger budget to buy better crystals. So that is really great for when it comes to suppliers. With bigger budgets, you'll be able to buy more rare or unique crystals, or you'll be able to buy bigger wholesale lots, which means you'll be able to get better prices. So that's one really big pro of live sales. And for number five, one of the biggest pros is you will have hundreds and hundreds of people in your live shows every time you go live once you get to that level, because you will get to that level, which means you will sell out almost every live show. If not selling out, getting really close to selling out of all of your inventory. So that's another really huge pro of live sales. Now let's talk about the cons, because there are many more cons to doing live sales, and I do want to just be really transparent about this because I think a lot of people don't talk about this, so I want to share some of the cons of going live and doing live sales. Number one, the first time you go live, people aren't going to show up. You know, they don't know who you are, they don't know your reputation, so the first times you go live, it's going to be a struggle, it's going to be awkward, there's not going to be a lot of people there, but you just can't make it awkward. You just have to keep going. So you got to push through that awkward phase until you start gaining a following. Number two, people are going to be constantly asking you to re-show stuff. Even if you just showed it 30 seconds ago, people are going to be coming in and out of the live shows and are going to be asking you, hey, can I see that again? Hey, can I see this? Hey, can you show that? And you're going to be constantly having to re-show things over and over again, which is what causes live shows to go on for so long. So number three, speaking of live shows going on and on, typically crystal live shows last anywhere from 5 to 8 or 9 hours, you guys. 8 or 9 hours. And then after you're done with your 8 or 9 hour live show, you have to spend an equal amount of time invoicing everything that was sold. For example, Bees, Sage, and Crystals, I shop with her all the time. She goes live Saturday for 8 hours. She goes live Sunday for 8 hours, and then she spends 8 hours invoicing on Mondays, sometimes bleeding into Tuesdays. So it is a lot of time dedicated to going live and selling crystals. That is the typical. If you want to make those big sales and that big dollar amount, you really have to put 8 or so hours in every week to capitalize on those sales. And then for some of the smaller crystal shops, they tend to go live more frequently. So they tend to go live 5 or 6 times a week, 2 to 4 hours at a time. So you're constantly on live trying to gain an audience. So they have to go live more frequently. Now, I think a lot of people don't realize is when you're sitting there showing crystals for 8 hours, your back starts to hurt, your arms start to hurt, you start to get tired, fatigued, you're talking to people constantly, you're showing things constantly, you're reading the chat constantly. It is exhausting, you guys. It is hard work. So now one of the biggest issues is people not paying their invoices. Now, if one person out of 100 doesn't pay their invoice, you know, it happens. But if you end up selling 100 crystals and 50 people don't pay, that is a waste of your time, a waste of your money, and then people who really wanted those crystals aren't getting them. So it's a huge problem with live shows, you guys. Every seller that I've talked to says that's one of their biggest things is people won't pay and they'll block the seller and leave with $100 or $200 or $300 invoice. They'll just vanish. Why is this a problem? You have to spend more time re-showing those crystals, or you have to mark them down, and now you have to re-show them instead of showing new inventory. Another downside of selling live shows is you will need a helper. 100% you will need a helper, if not 2 helpers, especially when you have over 100 people in your live show. Why do you need a helper? Because when you're getting people commenting sold, you need to be able to track who claimed first. You need to be able to put that crystal in their basket. You'll need to be able to record the price. You'll need to be able to get that person's email so you can invoice them. It is a lot of moving pieces, and that's why you need a second person. They're going to be the ones who are going to be doing those things so you can continue running the live show, because people are really impatient and they want you to keep the live show going. You can't spend 20 minutes on one crystal. You got to keep it moving. So you need 2 people to track claims, make sure you're not missing anything, make sure people are being taken care of. So another downside of selling on live shows is you're gonna need new inventory constantly. Like I was saying before, one of the pros is that you sell out really quickly. A con to that is that you will need new inventory because people aren't gonna continue to shop with you if you keep showing the same things over and over again. So you are constantly going to be needing to have inventory, especially new inventory or trendy inventory, because people are looking to you for that. So one of the biggest downsides to crystal live shows is you disappoint more people than you make happy. Now, what do I mean by this? If you only have 1 or 2, maybe a few available of a super special crystal and you have 100 people in your live show, only 2 people are going to get it. And even if there's 20 people who want those 2 crystals, 18 of those people are going to be disappointed. So that's one thing to really keep in mind. You're going to make more people sad than you're going to make happy. But the people who you do make happy are really going to love it. Right, guys? So that was a pretty long list of cons, but there's also some really great pros in there. But let's go ahead to jump into selling on Etsy. We're going to go through the same thing, the pros and cons of selling on Etsy. Okay, so for pros on Etsy, one of the biggest pros if you have kids or a full-time job is you can decide when you want to sell your crystals, when you want to post your listings, when you want to ship stuff out, when you want to process orders, when you want to answer customers' questions. When you have an Etsy shop, it's on your time. It's not on the live show's time. Another huge perk about working with Etsy is you get a shipping discount, and this adds up, you guys. So shipping is expensive, and unfortunately crystals are heavy, so shipping is always going to be pricey. So that shipping discount is a huge bonus feature. So one of the biggest pros to selling on Etsy or Shopify is it's a guaranteed sale. You will not be wasting your time selling to people who do not pay, and that is a huge thing. Whereas on Etsy, 100% of the time it's a guaranteed sale. So I've mentioned this before in another video I did on my Etsy shop, but if you offer free shipping over $35, Etsy will promote your shop. This is huge, you guys. That is free promotion, free marketing, and yes, you can offer free shipping. I do that, and it helps my sales so much. Just remember, you're competing against things like Amazon. People are used to seeing free shipping. So if they come to your shop and they spend $100 and then have to pay $20 for shipping, that's not great. Nobody likes that. So if you can offer free shipping, find a way to do it with your pricing, and I will talk about that when we get to the pricing section. Another bonus to Etsy is people can leave reviews. Now, this is really great because if you have a 5-star review, people are going to be more likely to shop with you. They trust that your crystals and your product are good. When you go into a live show for the first time, when you're a first-time shopper, you question if the quality is good because you see that crystal for maybe 2 or 3 seconds. You don't know if the quality is good. Sometimes you can't tell if it's heat treated or not, especially if the seller is moving quickly and not calling it out. So when you shop on Etsy, all of the details are listed for you and you really know what you're buying, versus on a live show, sometimes I bought stuff that I thought was bigger than it actually was, and I've been kind of disappointed. You get less than 10 seconds to decide if you want to purchase it on a live show, so it is better for your customer. And then next, one of the best things about Etsy is shipping is made so easy. You just type in the measurement of the package, type in the weight, and then print a label straight from Etsy, and you can now schedule a pickup straight from Etsy. When you're on live shows, you have to do it through PayPal. You have to send an invoice. You have to price out each invoice separately for shipping, because some people may only buy 1 crystal that weighs, you know, 10 ounces, and some people may be buying 5 pounds of crystal. So each one of those shipments has to be individually weighed and invoiced, whereas on Etsy, it's already included. You don't have to be invoicing people for shipping. So it's a lot faster and a lot more seamless. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the cons of selling on Etsy or Shopify. You don't make as much money. I'll just be straight up honest. You will not make $20,000 a night selling on Etsy. So why is this, right? In a live show, you can sell 200 crystals in a night. The likelihood of you selling 200 crystals in a day on Etsy is just not likely at all. Another con of Etsy is Etsy takes a cut of what you make, whereas when you sell on Instagram, Instagram doesn't take a cut of what you sell. So Etsy does take a cut. I'm gonna read to you exactly how much Etsy takes, just so you can see how much they're taking from each sale. So as of 2020, Etsy charges 20 cents to list each crystal. They charge a 5% transaction fee, and they charge a 3% fee plus 25 cents for payment processing. So if you guys do the math, it's not a lot, but they are taking a cut. So just remember that. Another downside of Etsy is if you don't offer free shipping, they will not promote you. And if you're selling something like rose quartz, your listing is gonna be buried in all of the other sellers who are selling rose quartz who are offering free shipping. So if you don't offer free shipping, you're really at a disadvantage. And not everyone wants to offer free shipping, you guys. Crystals are expensive. You can lose a lot of money if you don't price your items appropriately for free shipping. Another downside of Etsy is once you have a bad shop rating, it is hard to come back from that. This is especially critical in your first few months on Etsy. If your shipping order is late, if your crystals are damaged, if they're not as they were described, these are things that are going to get you bad ratings. And if you get enough of them, you cannot come back from that. So it's something to be really, really cognizant about. Another downside of Etsy versus live shows is you will need to individually photograph, write a description, price out, and list each item. Now in live shows, you could show an item for 5 to 10 seconds and sell it like that. So that is a lot more efficient. So that's the end of the pros and cons of live shows versus Etsy. In my personal life, Etsy works better for me because I have a full-time job, but you guys can decide what's better for you. That's the beauty of having a crystal business. And you can do both. You could go live twice a month and then the rest of your business is on Etsy. There's no right or wrong on how to run a crystal business. Now let's jump into crystal sourcing. Now this is one of the questions you guys have asked me the most, is where do you find suppliers? How do you get your crystals? So this is going to be kind of a lengthy section since I know this is a question that a lot of you have had for me. So the first topic is, where do you find crystals and where do you find suppliers? Honestly, The answer is everywhere and anywhere. What do I mean by that? You can find crystal wholesalers all over the world. Crystals are all over the world. There are mines all over the world. But the biggest way that I've been able to source my crystals is either at gem shows, trade shows, or online. And with the state of the world right now, your best bet is going to be online because all of the gem shows are closed or postponed until later in the year. So the best way that I've actually been able to find suppliers online is actually Facebook groups. Now, if you don't have a Facebook, you're gonna wanna make one. So on Facebook, there are hundreds and hundreds of crystal groups out there. There are ones for international only, there are ones for domestic only, there are some that are combo, there are some that are wholesale only, there are some that are crystal review groups for sellers. There are endless amounts of crystal groups out there with thousands and thousands of members. So Facebook is a great place to look for these groups. You literally go to your search bar and type in buy, sell crystals and hundreds of groups will pop up. You just request to join and boom, you're a member. You can start sourcing, browsing through the posts, asking where to find suppliers. If you have specific questions on where to find domestic suppliers, you can post that and people will get back to you pretty much immediately. Now, there are also Facebook crystal groups that rate and review sellers. So I will show you the one that I'm in, and it's a simple rating system of sellers that are currently out in the market that are pretty popular, whether it's wholesale or just live show sellers, where you can check if that seller is reliable, if their product is as described, if they have good prices, if they've ripped people off, and people will rate them. So this is a good way to avoid getting into a bad business relationship with a bad seller. So another fun way to buy wholesale crystals is through crystal live shows. Just like you guys shop for live shows on Instagram and Facebook, there are wholesaler crystal live shows where you can go and buy a kilo of moss agate or a half a kilo of rose quartz, and they will package it up and put it in a basket for you. So it works the same way. So that's how I actually buy a lot of my wholesale crystals, is through live shows. And it's funny because when you're shopping an Instagram show, you're like, wow, they have so many crystals. But when you shop a wholesaler's live show, they have a huge warehouse or huge office with hundreds of crystals, even thousands of crystals in there for you to shop. So that's a great way to shop suppliers, is through their live shows. Some crystals you can only get from certain parts of the world. For example, Larimar or Bumblebee Jasper or Ocean Jasper, they only come from certain parts of the world. That's just one thing to keep in mind. Just because it comes from Madagascar or Indonesia doesn't mean it's going to be sold out of Madagascar and Indonesia. It may be sold out of the United States, it may be sold out of China, it may be sold out of Brazil. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Just because that you're buying it from a country doesn't mean it actually came from that country. Now, I know some people are only comfortable shopping with domestic sellers, but just keep in mind, when you're buying from a domestic seller in the United States, the price is always going to be higher. Now, why is this? Because they are actually a lot of the times getting their supply from all over the world. So there is an upcharge. So they're almost like a middleman sometimes. Now, not always, but sometimes. So like I said, you guys, it's purely how you want to run your business. If you're not comfortable buying from international suppliers and you only want to buy from domestic suppliers, that is completely up to you. The price will most likely be higher, but not always. Now, a lot of crystals are actually shaped and carved or polished in China. So a lot of crystals may be sourced from Madagascar, but may come out of China because they are actually shaped and polished there. Or Brazil. I've seen a lot of the top polish points. Those come out of Brazil, but they're not actually sourced there. They may be sourced in Madagascar, Indonesia. Those are just some things to consider. Just because it says made in China doesn't mean it's actually from China. Now, I want to talk about China with you guys, because when I first started selling, people would tell me, don't buy from China, everything in China is fake, all this negativity around China. Now, that just simply isn't true. Not everything in China is fake, and I'm going to talk about why. And there is a lot of negative stigma around China and crystals, because there are a lot of fake crystals that come out of China. But let me just give you guys some facts so you can be a little bit more educated, so you can feel more comfortable shopping in China. I'm not necessarily saying that you should or or shouldn't shop in China, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people don't like to disclose it because there's such a negative stigma. But let me give you guys some additional information on China. Now, China provides up to 95% of all of our rare earth elements. That is a huge percentage, you guys. But China only has 23% of the world's supply of rare earth elements. This includes crystals. That just shows how many mines there are in China, and that shows how many mines there are outside of China. Crystals are abundant all over the world. Now, many people I know shop and buy from China. It's hard not to purchase from China, and let me tell you why. There's an entire city in China called Crystal Town. This is also called Donghai. That's the official Chinese name of the city. Now, Donghai makes the Tucson Gem Show look like a flea market. That's how abundant crystals are in Donghai, China. That's why it's called Crystal Town. Some of the sellers who live in Donghai have been selling crystals for over 40 years. Now, you guys ask yourself, would you be able to run a 40+ year business with fake crystals? Probably not. Let's talk about Donghai a little bit. So millions and millions and millions of years ago, where Donghai is located in China, there were many volcanic eruptions which created the perfect condition for crystal formation. So Donghai has many crystal mines and resources there, where there are hundreds of thousands of crystals there. There are millions of crystal formations in Donghai. That's why it's almost impossible to not get some crystals from China, because there is such an abundance of them in the crystal town. Some of the biggest crystals in the world have been found in Donghai, China. So it's just really interesting. I think the more you know about China, the less you'll be scared to purchase from there if needed. Now let's talk about the United States and how some of their crystal mines work. So some crystal mines in the United States offer a dig yourself your own crystal. So I know they have some of these in North Carolina where I live. I know they have some of them in South Carolina. This is all over the United States. You can go and dig your own crystals. If that's how you want to sell your crystal business, you absolutely can. Now, a lot of people who buy domestically don't buy straight from the mines. Some of them do. Some of them do have relationships with the miners in the United States, and they will buy directly off the mines, but a lot of them go through a middleman or a supplier in the United States. So at the Tucson Gem Show, some of them are suppliers and some of them are direct from the mines. So basically what I'm trying to say is suppliers import and export crystals from all over the world, including the United States. So don't be afraid to purchase from China. Don't be afraid to purchase from the United States. Don't be afraid to purchase from Mexico. There are stigmas out there on why you should or shouldn't buy from things, but do what's right for you and your business. So when finding a supplier, do your research. Make sure that supplier is reputable. Make sure they're not selling fake crystals. If you're going to be doing live shows, you're going to want to look for a supplier who sells wholesale bulk. If you're going to do Etsy or Shopify, you're going to want to work with a supplier who sells smaller amounts. You want to make sure you're finding suppliers who meet your business needs. So that's why you really need to determine how you're going to sell. Are you going to sell in live shows? Or are you going to sell on Etsy? Because that's going to determine what kind of supplier you need. All right, now let's talk about initial investment. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I just want to give you an idea of what an initial investment should look like when you're first starting to buy your crystals. Now, I opened my crystal shop with about $300, and I made the mistake of finding a supplier who only sells bulk crystals. So I ended up buying half kilos of crystals, but I could only buy so many with $300. So that's what I'm trying to say. If you're going to be starting off and you only have $200 or $300 to invest, you're going to want to find a supplier who will meet that. So you're not ending up only getting 6 types of crystals for $300, because $300 doesn't go very far when you're buying bulk crystals. Now, if you're going to start off investing only $200 or $300, I would make sure to find the time to find a supplier who will let you buy quarter kilo or by a piece, so that you can buy a variety of crystals straight off the bat. Now, if you can afford to invest more than $200 or $300, absolutely do it, especially if you're going to be doing live shows. If you can invest $500 to $1,000, your dollar will go a lot further and you'll be able to get a lot more inventory. Especially with wholesale, the more you buy, the more you save. So that could be a great way to save money off the bat. But now, a lot of the time, whether you're buying buying domestically or internationally, you have to make sure to budget in the cost of shipping. Shipping wholesale crystals is expensive, you guys. 1 kilo of crystals could cost around $20 to ship. 1 kilo is equal to 2.20 pounds, which is not very many at all, you guys. So for example, this dolphin is 1.5 kilos, so it's over the 2.20 pounds. So this alone would cost more than $20 to ship. So shipping is extremely expensive, you guys. Now let's say you buy over 10 kilos of crystals, which is roughly about 22 pounds of crystals. It will cost you around $75 to ship. Now I'm basing these off of my supplier's prices. They could be more expensive or less expensive depending on your supplier's pricing. So before you go ahead and buy hundreds of dollars worth of crystals, make sure you understand their pricing and processing fees. Make sure you are always calculating these shipping prices into your budget for buying crystals. You also want to be including these shipping prices in your crystal markup, which is what we will be talking about next. Okay, next let's jump into how to open your crystal shop. You're gonna need to see if you need a license to sell crystals in your state/city. So make sure you look this up before you open up shop. You're gonna need to pay taxes. Not the fun part, right? But this is a source of income. So you're either gonna be having to do a 1099 Schedule C type payment. Now, if you're not familiar with that, you're gonna need to pay estimated taxes on the amount of money you think you will make. Estimated taxes are paid 4 times a year. It's not like a W-2 employee. So I would highly recommend, especially if you're planning on doing live shows, that you talk to an accountant before you open up shop. Because if all of a sudden you're making $3,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 every live show, you are definitely gonna be needing to save anywhere from 30 to 40% of that income to be able to pay those estimated taxes 4 times a year. Now, if you're doing this just as a hobby and you're planning on making under $1,000 or around $2,500 a year, you can just report this as extra income on your tax return. But make sure you pay taxes, guys, because you don't want the IRS coming after you. So like I said, I am not an expert, so make sure to consult a tax expert to figure out what types of tax you need to set up based on what kind of business you're gonna run. Okay guys, and we're finally to our last topic on how to price your crystals. Now, this is critical, you guys. Let's say you got your inventory and you're ready to price. You don't want to be pricing too low and you don't want to be pricing too high. So let me talk through how to price those crystals so you are profitable. There are going to be customers who care only about price and not about quality. And there are going to be customers who care only about quality and not about price. And you really need to cater to both of those. You want to have some pieces in your shop that are less expensive, and you want to have some pieces in your shop that are more rare or more expensive, and then you want to have some that are in the middle. So it's good to offer a variety of price points in your shop. Now, if you're gonna offer free shipping, whether it's on live shows or on Etsy, you're gonna need to make sure you include that in your pricing. Now, how I do my shipping is I offer free shipping on purchases over $35 or more, and then the rest of my listings are only $3 shipping, so the price point for shipping is really low. Now, this sets me apart from other Etsy shops or other crystal sellers because a lot of the times they're charging $8 at a minimum to ship a tiny crystal, so you have to think of the strategy. Now, this is good to know if you are a crystal buyer or a crystal seller. If you are shipping with USPS, anything under a pound should cost around $3 to $5. Now, if you're shipping crystals that are over a pound, you can use USPS flat rate services. USPS flat rate boxes are provided to you for free. That means you do not have to buy any supplies besides tape. Now, flat rate shipping shipping is anywhere from $8 to $20. Now, another thing you want to consider is how much you're gonna mark up your crystals. Are you gonna mark them up 2 times what you paid? Are you gonna mark them up 3 times what you paid? Are you gonna mark them up 4 times what you paid? Now, you may be thinking that's a lot, but it's not unusual. A lot of companies will mark up their products 3 to 4 times what they paid for them. So if you bought a rose quartz sphere for $10, you could charge $20, $30, or $40 for that crystal. It's all how much you want to mark it up, what makes sense for your business. Now, it may seem like a lot if you paid $10 for a rose quartz sphere and you're selling it for $40, but remember, you have to subtract that $10 that you initially paid for it. You have to subtract what it costs to ship it to you. If you're offering free shipping, you have to subtract from that. If you're selling on live shows, you have to subtract the time you are paying yourself to sell that crystal. I think especially if you are doing live shows, your prices are going to generally be higher than what you would see on Etsy, because you have to pay yourself to sell those crystals, and you have to pay the people who are helping you, the 2 to 3 people who are potentially helping you sell these crystals. It's up to you how much money you want to pay yourself and you want to pay your partner who's helping you. But if you're paying $10 to $15 per hour per person, you're gonna have to include that price markup in the crystals you are selling. Alright guys, I think this video has gone on long enough. I have no idea how long I've been recording for. Feel free to reach out on Instagram if you guys have any specific questions about anything I talked about today. I'm super happy and super open to answer any questions you guys have. Now again, I'm gonna say this one more time. All of this is based solely off my experience and my experience alone. I've had a successful crystal business on Etsy for a little under a year now. I've had over 300 sales and a 5-star review and over 5,000 people visiting my Etsy site this year alone. So far this year on my Etsy shop, I've made over $5,000 in passive income selling crystals. Now to some people that may seem like nothing, and to some people that may seem like a lot. Regardless, this is based on my own experience, and take what I've said today and turn it into your own successful crystal business. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys stayed till the end. If you stayed till the end, leave me a little crystal ball in the comments, because I'm curious to see if you guys like these really long in-depth videos or if this is just super boring. Please remember to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe down below for all of my future videos, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!